Are squaring off here in a best-of-3 at quarterfinal, the last one of the day and the last one of Star Series Season 6 before these teams head into the semifinals, one of which will be going home and one of which will be, well, sticking around to see what they can do. And perhaps to do it here on the desk will be these guys, and Chad and Duncan. Of course, you probably know them as Spud and Thorin. Guys, how are we feeling now after that first BO3?
Pretty potatoey.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That was just sort of like a light appetizer, I guess. You know,
Like a
now I'm
tartare.
ready for the main course. Hopefully this is going to be a full one as well. We don't want to just see one team come in, beat the other one. Sure, if it's NRG, it builds up the idea that they're going to be the final boss of the tournament. But
Right.
you look at North, they haven't really like established themselves as a legit team yet. They've been pretty up and down,
Yeah.
and where the strengths have been haven't always been consistent. But you just look at the potential in that team, and it feels like they could be so much better a team. And as I alluded to before, I think if they win this series, why can't they win the tournament?
Well, in fact, they've met before on this. Excuse
Yeah.
me, they've met before on this tournament on Inferno. Went the way of NRG, so in fact we could go that route again here early on.
Yeah, they played on Inferno 16-12. Like it was one of these games where they like split the pistols. The opening kills I think actually went in favor of North within that game. The clutches went in the favor of NRG. It was just one of
NRG
those.
had a big lead at one point in time, I remember.
Yeah, and a lot of the games actually with North have been come from behind games. If you remember the Gambit game on Train 16-13,
Yes.
they had a really bad first half, and then on their T side, they did some really late round plays, and they were able to let their stars in situations that they should have never won come alive. And I think that's the storyline for North in this tournament is Cadian's in-game leading is much looser than MSL's, and you're getting more out of Kyobi and AZ, and that's something that we've been wanting for a while.
Yeah, and in a way to activate these players, of course. It's not that simple to just activate any players on the team. Some thrive under certain environments, and at least in this case, you're making the point for these two to thrive. What is your take on this North lineup
The
now?
guy that's really impressed me in this lineup has to be Gade. It's the new guy, actually, because this is someone where, like, I watched a little bit of the North Academy when I was actually, funnily enough, trying to research Mertz, so I knew he was going to get picked up by one of these teams in the Danish scene eventually. I saw some of Gade, and he was up and down. He just seemed okay. Didn't, like, jump off the page. Then he went to Optic, where he's playing with all these big names. He had Snappy. He thought, right, well, this is someone who knows how to bring a talent along in the scene. And quite frankly, he was just a non-entity in that team. Like, he was the guy where it just seemed like a black hole. So when they brought him over, especially trading him for Nico, being effective in the North squad, I thought, this is a bad trade, actually. This looks like a downgrade. Looks fantastic at the moment. I've seen so many great highlights from him. His AK looks particularly strong. It feels like Cadian has a sense for how to use him. So perhaps in this scenario, you look at the other teams he was in. In the North Academy team, he had Ava as his coach,
Yep.
but they were trying to teach those guys the tactical aspects so they come up as they do in the Danish scene. Snappy presumably wanted to run something of a system because that's what he's done in his career. Maybe he's just thriving in this approach now, and now he's got kind of a role he wants.
Yeah, I think maybe the only negatives are they did lose to like Fraxis, for example, on Nuke. Like that's kind of
Yes.
they messed up in the veto. So hopefully this time around we don't have those same kind of issues coming through in the veto.
We do have the head-to-head, though, Chad. How about you walk me through what we see in front of us on the screen?
Nothing fantastic
Outstanding.
really for North, right? You look at this. Look, the June results.
This was from the Season 5 one.
The June results
Yeah.
we don't count. They actually don't matter anymore because this is a completely different North roster with a different leadership, right? The only one that matters is the one in the context of this tournament, which is that Inferno one on the far left of your screen, the 16-12, which we just touched on before. And that was a game where, look, it was pretty tight. It was one of those games that you have a few swing rounds here or there and it's actually able to be a victory for North. But then you look at the trajectory of NRG throughout the rest of the tournament. They went 3-0 within the Swiss system. You obviously got Breezy playing fantastically well. Then you look at all these stat lines for these guys. In the 3 games, they won 4 out of 6 pistols. That 100% conversion rate on those pistols. Then you look at this other stuff. Like, this is when we compare the two. They're not so good on force buys if you look at their LAN games over the last 3 months. They're only like 4-point-something%. That's not a highlight if they're going to lose the pistols. But in this tournament, in the context of this tournament, they are the best team at converting the 5v4 situations. So when they find that opening kill, they're converting the rounds. They're the 3rd best at the 4v5 situation, so they're trading very efficiently. They're the best at trading in the tournament. They have the highest multi-kill out of all the teams in the tournament. So in those 3 games, I guess you consider they had an overtime game, a 16-12 game, and a 16-5 game. The 16-5 is the only blowout. To keep those stat lines so high, that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah, this is a team in NRG. One of the reasons why when they have played the other top teams, the teams that are ranked above them, I always pick against them, is because when they can get the full buy and they can get the economy and they can get open circles, and now they can compete with all these teams.
Yep.
Their problem has been, though, they lose pistols, they don't get the economy, someone like Cirque plays a little bit more passively, doesn't rise to the occasion, suddenly they're sapped of a lot of their power. Now, that's not going to be as big a problem against North, and in fact, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm favouring the NRG squad here is because it felt like Cirque hasn't had to do much in this tournament so far. It's mainly been the riflers. But going head-to-head, Cadian's trying to be an in-game leader as well.
Sure.
Like, as much as you want to be able to still play individualistically, and he's saying he's playing loose, you still can't play the way a primary AWPer would in that role. So I feel like the edge in terms of the AWP definitely goes over to NRG if they can utilize it.
Yeah, if Cirque can come online. This hasn't been a question usually around Cirque. Is he going to be the active and animated one, at least? But perhaps we take a look at the fugly cold Medina. That's right. Let's hear more of what NRG has to say.
Going into the matches, if I describe it in one word, it'd be unpredictable.
Easy.
Easy.
Predictable.
Easy. I'd say we're pretty satisfied with how the group stage went. We slowly improved the problems we had over the course of the 3 matches we played, and I think we're prepared for the playoffs. I guess the biggest surprise for us was playing Fragsters in the 2-0 match. We weren't expecting to play them there. Expectation is to win the event. Now that Mouse Sports is knocked out, I think we have a lot better of a chance to do that. I mean, I say the 2 teams that we'd probably have the hardest time playing against will be North or Big. Obviously, we played North first. So I think if we beat North, we'll make the finals, and then it's just depending on who we play there. If we play Big, it'll be a good grand final, I think. The atmosphere in the team is pretty good. After going 3-0, I think it's the first time we went 3-0 in a Swiss system before, so I think we're feeling pretty confident going into the playoffs. I don't have a message for my enemies. I'm just gonna go out and play some CS.
Hearing from the likes of NRG, it does seem that they do feel a little bit confident coming into this. And of course, you probably should, considering you have 2 of the top-rated players in the entire tournament in Breeze and Ethan.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is, listen, one of the things I often criticize Daps for is he can be a bit monotone when he does an interview. Usually he doesn't have a lot of confidence. I will say, obviously, he doesn't have monsters in front of him. He doesn't have Na'Vi and Astralis, etc. So he has a reason to feel like he can do well. He seemed pretty actually, like, spirits were high there. He seemed like he was pretty confident, you know, old red beard there. Trying to come and plunder, get some of that booty. You know all about that.
Yeah, getting the booty. We're all about that life around here. In fact, Redbeards, though, you probably know a little bit more about that than I do. So
Just my own, yeah.
I got a bit of ginger in mine.
Yeah,
it only comes out in the summertime.
Kind of bleeds through in certain
Yeah.
patches.
Hey, that's just the way I was born. But let's talk about
That's
NRG.
a map pool, mate. That is a map pool.
That's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, they have a deep map pool. But let's talk about NRG's results over this year, right? They added I'm a Pet as a coach. I think it was in May. I'm not 100% on that one. And ever since he's come in, they look like they're on the up and up. They came third and fourth, sorry, at New York, just gone. They came first at IM Shanghai. Now, sure, there wasn't really any fantastic names there, but it's still a victory, still a trophy.
Okay, business.
Still some confidence. A tournament they should have won, and they won it. Third, fourth of the ECS finals. I think that they lost to Liquid at that tournament, and they came second at Starladder last time round, where they got blown out of the water by Na'Vi. But still, this team is definitely trending up, and you
beat
consider
Liquid at that one.
Yeah, you consider the North American scene right now. Let's take Made in Brazil out of the equation because they're predominantly Brazilian. NRG are the second best team in my mind in the North American region, just under Liquid at this point in time.
Yes.
And if Liquid continue to have mental struggles and NRG continue to go on the way up, you never know what could happen in that scene.
Let's talk about a team ranked number 8 right now within the HLTV.org rankings. That's going to be North. And for what it's worth, Duncan, tell me a little bit about this team.
Unfortunately, I will say, for the context of this tournament, that is a fraudulent rating. Because obviously the ratings, remember, this is a key sentence that if you understand, you will never again debate ratings. Ratings tell you what a team did in terms of placings over the last 3 to 6 to 9 months, depending on the system. They have nothing to do with today. You can obviously become the best team tomorrow, but it won't show up in the ratings for 3, 4, 6 months, whatever it is. So the problem in this scenario is, first of all, you've taken out MSL, and he basically was the backbone of how North played, how they thought about the game, how they thought about the roles. He's gone, so already you've completely overhauled the team, even though in that particular case, it's one player. Like Gade for Eco, that's a little bit more similar. And then secondly, another factor of ratings that will always make them a little bit dodgy is that if you have an absurdly good individual one-off ranking rather, it will get you way higher up. So obviously, if you win a massive tournament and you beat Mouse Sports and you beat all these Na'Vi and you beat Astralis, in your mind you're going to overvalue the team, and then you're going to get to this point and you're going to have them at number 8. I think realistically, if you was to start from today, they wouldn't be a top 10 team right now. They're trying to put that together. They're trying to get in position. They've got a lot of talent, and I think, as I alluded to earlier, the exciting thing for me is some of the talent wasn't always used as well. Some of it they didn't get as much out of. It was actually some of the lesser names who were playing better. So if you could get all these players on the same page, if KD can pull that off, this could be a really strong team.
Chad, quickly run me through this map pool and why it seemingly has just a little bit more depth.
It's wrong, because exactly like Duncan said, the roster's just been changed. This team has only been together for 18 days since the addition of KD and Gade, and everything has changed in their approach to the game. Obviously, Ava's still there as the coach. They've only played 27 maps. Well, sorry, only. In 18 days, they've played 27 maps. That's quite a lot of maps to already play.
We just started the online season,
in
obviously.
officials,
Yes,
yes. So that's kind
qualifiers.
of a good thing to speed them up. They've won 19 and they've lost 8. I'm pretty sure they're undefeated on Train right now. A lot of those games against teams which we wouldn't consider to be the biggest titans by any means, but they've still got that 8-0 streak, and most of these games are online. This is their first offline event together, so we have to make sure we factor that in.
Well, it's time for us to hear what North has to say, actually, because these guys come in here and they might put a little fire under their belts, but only time will tell. Let's hear from them.
If I would have to describe the group stage in one word, I would say experience.
If it has to be one word, I would use roller coaster.
Difficult. Tough.
Roller coaster. I think the group stage was difficult because there was a lot of good teams and a lot of teams that can upset at this event. So we're super happy to make it to the top 8, and hopefully we can make it even further. The most remarkable thing at this group stage was, for me, maybe our comeback against Gambit. That was a super difficult game, being down 11-5 and having pistols only, managing to create a fantastic comeback with everyone cheering for each other and helping each other to make that incredible comeback happen. So I think that's the highlight of the group stage for me. One game at a time. We don't really look into who we're going to face in a potential semi-final or final. We'll take one game at a time. Currently we are preparing to face up against NRG, and I feel like the spirit in the team is good, and that's what we're going to need for the quarterfinal. The atmosphere in the team is very good at the moment. Everyone is being kind to each other, and some would say maybe it's part of the honeymoon. But I also think that this team just has a very good social chemistry, which I think will be important in the long run. Right now everything is super nice, and people are listening, and people are able to give good constructive criticism. And we're just having a lot of laughs as well, which is important to be a good team. If I have to be completely honest, it doesn't really matter for us who we play. It's more of how we play, because I'm sure that if we play up to our very best, we can beat every team at this event. So we don't focus too much on the opponents, we focus on how we make sure that we can play our A game. If I would have a message for our opponent, NRG, I would say we have a long rivalry from the US when I was playing there. And you maybe beat me once or twice, but look at the players I have alongside me now. It's going to be a difficult task for you guys.
Boy, I sure hope that shit talk gets a little bit better in game, because that was not the best.
Plus, work with like some imagery, be like this. You seem like a lot of good Christian boys from America, but we are the Lions, and we're going to eat you alive in the arena.
They might need to ask trade.
Nice.
It wasn't bad.
I just got a tweet from MSL coming in live and hot off the press.
Come on.
Now, he's shown the stats of AZ, and he said Volley and Kirby both look like the same as before, just so we get facts straight with the new loose style, by the way. The style isn't really that different. I know 8 out of the 10 tactics used. So we do a lot of stuff which is based off of the eye test. Now, sure, he's probably seen a lot of the same strategies used, which would make sense because you have a lot of the same core.
Sure.
But when look, this may just be a mental thing for Kirby. It might not be a difference in in-game leadership style. Well, obviously it has to be a little bit. But when you look at these late round scenarios where a player like Kirby is able to take over, especially in that Gambit comeback, that's something that I haven't seen from him since he was playing in Astralis, and they had Dennis standing in at Blast Pro Series Copenhagen last year.
Which is a weird timeline by itself. You think about a year ago in Counter-Strike. Of course, the timeline we need to look at is this one of the vetoes. A best of 3 is upon us, and well, maps are a crucial part of this.
Well, I mean,
that had to be the permaban.
It almost goes without saying that the map pick of NRG, I mean, we'll see what they're going to veto now. Obviously, that's a harder part for them to figure out in this setting, but the map pick of NRG is almost certainly going to be Overpass at this point in time. Like, why wouldn't it be? It's a map that works so well for them.
Optic, North beat Optic on that map 16-7 to kick off the tournament. I think removing Dust 2 is a good one. It's one of those scrimmy maps that, you know, they might not have played that much. They can get rid of.
I was Train's the logical picker.
If
it's one that NRG certainly plays, but not as much.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking, because I actually thought that NRG might actually remove Train, knowing that 8-0 streak. But I was talking to the NRG guys just before they had to play, and they seemed confident to play Train, right?
Yeah, they wanted to play Train.
Yeah, they're more than happy to do that. And that's fair enough, because you look at how volatile they've actually been, right? North has relied on individual performances. They haven't actually relied on strategy and like pacing and all that kind of stuff like they did when they were under MSL. It's been the individuals having to step up and get the dirty work done. So Duncan's bang on with the Overpass pick.
I'd like to see the Inferno third map. I think that's the logical one. Let's play it again.
Yeah, well, both teams would, like, I think would also maybe be, NRG would probably be happier with Mirage than that of North. If they get rid of Mirage, okay.
So now the choice is there. It's the logical one. I mean, you could also push it to Nuke, obviously, and think, is North actually going to be good enough on that?
They lost to Fragsters on it. They did lose to Fragsters on it, but
it's
we
just
haven't
if I'm NRG, you've had a lot of playoff failures in your career. You've had a lot of times where people chalked a little bit. Let's just go for comfort, because in that scenario, we've got 3 maps we like. We like all these 3. We can play all of them. Yeah, so they've gone for Inferno in the end. By the way, since we've got the veto out now, let me just quickly address that MSL point there. That's actually not a very good argument that he put together. MSL's a very cerebral player. I'm sure if you gave him like a video and a bunch of scenes to shows, he could probably make a very compelling case. Maybe he's even right. We don't have time to run it back and go from all the different angles and break down the strats. We're just watching the overview, the observer, like all the rest of you. But just showing us the stats on paper tells us nothing about whether these players are playing the same way. Sure, you could say that means production-wise, maybe they're doing something similar. I'm not really sure that ties into it. I certainly think the angle where he's saying some of the strats are the same.
I can believe that, for sure.
I could certainly believe that when a new in-game leader comes in, you're not just going to rehaul literally everything from day one.
There's not enough time in this market.
Especially because if you've seen North, they've been very willing to go around the map pool and to try and punish, which usually means you're not going to have practice 6 maps out of nowhere.
And just another point, I'm pretty sure that you and I, Duncan, both think that MSL is actually a very good strategical in-game leader. At no point would we ever take that away from him. I think the bigger picture here is coming in with a change of leadership. It feels like, at least from what we've seen so far, that North in these situations that get messier, the star performances are coming out from those individuals. With the Gade situation, you touched on this earlier, I think that he definitely had a lot of impact on certain pistol rounds, or maybe has a deagle on a force buy. They seem to stick out in my head as him having a lot of impact in that regard, but this is the thing. I'm pretty sure North have an 8-0 win streak on Train right now, even though a lot of it is online, even though they're not the biggest scalps to take, but that's still a very confident way to go into this, to kick off this best of 3 against NRG.
Sure.
And sometimes that's what it takes within a leadership quality, to come in and reinvigorate some of these guys. And perhaps that's exactly what's going on here within the North.
Like, in terms of the stylistic difference, I'm looking for that more longer term. You know, I want to see in 2-3 months when they've got their full practice under their belt, they know exactly what maps they're playing, then we'll determine whether their leadership's good. But in terms of actually just changing the look of the team and the feel of the team, that's what was actually necessary. Like, for example, I think Carrigan's a good in-game leader, but if FaZe removes him, I understand why. The lineup's kind of run its course.
Mental thing,
Likewise with North. They've had MSL a long, long time, so I'm sure he can go elsewhere and be a very good in-game leader, but you could tell by the players in the team, if they were going to change themselves, this part had to change within the squad, I think.
Kind of a healthy happening for both sides, perhaps, if you think about it.
Sure. Within the context of this tournament so far, I touched on all those stat lines for NRG, which are really positive. They're fantastic at the 5v4s. They're doing well in the 4v5s as well. The utility usage is some of the best in the whole tournament. Just one of the ones which sticks out for North is they are the best in the tournament so far at the force buys in actually converting if they lose the pistol. So
that's a pretty good matchup.
That's not a bad thing to have. And they're the best in flash assist, which means like once you flash an opponent, actually getting the kill because that opponent is flashed. So they're 2 positive things. That means usually if that's the case with flash assist, your communication has to be on point or your executes are well drilled. I think it's probably the communication is flowing quite nicely for these guys because of the situations, especially in that Gambit game where they were winning in scenarios that were 2v4s, 2v3s, those kind of rounds.
Well, we are waiting to get the knife round underway on Train. And again, I do remember NRG saying up there they were bigging up the Train.
They were happy to play.
They were excited and perhaps even happier to play that rather than some of the other maps. So it'll be very interesting to see what they can pull out of their pockets. We also do get the little tidbit that they do their pistols on the fly, which I think is a pretty cool little factoid or a nugget, some of you guys would call it.
I'm not sure how much Daps would like you saying that, but
Sure.
it's definitely...
How are they going to know?
That's true. But it's definitely something which makes it interesting, right? If he's choosing a pistol round from, I guess, a database that he already has, or if he's making them up on the fly for whatever he feels, that's actually a cool way to approach the pistol round when you consider it. Most people consider a pistol round to be 50-50.
50-50, and that's not the voting odds that we want to see in the chat right now. You on your computer at home, go ahead and grab that keyboard, wipe off all the popcorn that you've left on there and the kernels and all that nonsense, and go ahead and vote in chat using hashtag North or hashtag NRG. Duncan, can you sell it any better than me?
This is what, just type it in
voting.
Twitch
Twitch
chat.
vote, yeah.
Not really. I don't really care about Twitch chat. Actually, don't do that. Click hide chat and just get on with your life. Grow,
You know what?
grow
Yeah,
up.
that's
Just
not
grow
bad
up.
either. That's not bad at all. But in terms of NRG and North, we are again waiting on a knife round on Train. And I asked you this before, but perhaps we move away from the pistols here. Perhaps we move away from what side the teams start on. And perhaps we talk a little bit about some of the influential impact players that we could have on these maps. I mean, we're going to see the ops come out. What are we going to see more of within this game? We say scrappy affairs, but is this going to be what side it about?
Well, since we know we're going to see Overpass, I've been waiting all tournament long to see the Cirque who's supposed to be a potential MVP, who's supposed to be the best player in this team, who's the player that every Cloud9 fan secretly hopes they're making some crazy LeBron to New York-esque transfer agency
To New York?
run for. That was the one in
Yeah.
2010, if you remember, that everyone was hyping. Everyone wants to see this guy because when he's on fire, he does look like a guy who has the potential to elevate his squad. But the problem is, it's been tough to get onto the maps that he works the best on. And I know Overpass is the one where they've got all the setups.
Yep.
This is the map where he can be very, very mobile. As we said, with the stats there, where when they get the man advantage, they're converting it so well. He can get that early pick off. They have the players to help him get back out of that. So that's a map where, unless North is really, really on their P's and Q's, that could be the blowout map for me. Like, that's the one that NRG could really bring the heat on. Now, Train, that's going to be very, very interesting on the North side of the equation because, again, are they going to be running some of the tactics from MSL system in that scenario? In which case, let's see Gade versus Nico. Let's see who actually has the better entry game there because you have to figure that's going to be a massive quality on that one.
You have to think they're also just going to pick apart and maybe take pieces of some of these strats, at least from the MSL era, that worked. I mean, it wasn't all as fluid as it could be, but bringing in a new face does help all that kind of come together sometimes.
Sure, and I think, the factors that we were outlining, I think both of these teams, you could look towards, it's almost a similar makeup, right? On one side of things, we've got Breezy, Ethan, and Old Boy Cirque as the star trio for this, and then basically Fugly just needs to have a couple of his impact rounds like he does, and then Daps just needs to make sure that he's making the right calls, right? At this point, he just gets the kills that come his way, doesn't need to do anything too spectacular. And then you can say the same thing over on the side of North, right? Kyobi, AZ, and Valder, they should be the star trio. Cadian just playing the AWP a little bit more utility. And then you have Gade, who we've already spoken about having a lot of those impact rounds, or at least it feels like he's had a lot of those impact rounds. So if those can continue, could be a very good brawly match that goes the distance here. The AWPs definitely play a lot into those first two maps, right? They're going to be hugely influential.
And since we've obviously got Train as the opener, I highlighted it when they played it early in the tournament. This is a map I love to watch Valde play the CT side on. I think this guy has a very good feel for the game, very good game sense. And obviously, if you're a newer team, you've got to have the skill when you're on the CT side. If you want to get those kills, you're not going to have perfect communication and chemistry and rotations. So if you have a player who can play one side fantastically, that's when you're going to really open the game up.
Well, Valde has been a player within the North lineup that's been, I dare I say, a cornerstone. He's been a very pivotal part of this lineup in finding any of the successes that they have had throughout the year. But in fact, maybe you could find some success with your guesses and or bets over at loot.bet. Isn't that right, Chad?
Gamble responsibly. I think an important factor here is in both of the Train games that North were actually able to grab the W in. It was huge T-sides. It was very good T-sides from them. So if NRG are able to lock out that T-side, this is where it gets worrisome because they did have a really bad CT side against the likes of Gambit where they were only able to pick up 5 rounds and they had to claw back a huge comeback after losing that T-pistol, right? So it's all about their T-side and if they can get it going because we haven't seen anything too exciting from their CT side just yet.
Just waiting for the old huddle there.
Just waiting
watching
for
the young captain. Listen, you know I used to be in Rogue. You understand that? Rogue?
No,
yes,
Rogue from North America.
I was playing with North Americans. Hiko. You remember him like 4 years ago? I'm in this team now. I want to win this now. I hate NRG. They are garbage online team.
Pretty good impression.
It's not bad.
It's
not
getting there.
yeah.
If I keep going with it, eventually it'll either get really annoying and I'll have to quit it.
Yeah.
Or the other alternative is it'll get really good.
Everyone wants you to do
Let's just hope for the latter.
I say you
Let's
keep
hope
going
for
with
the
it, quite
latter.
frankly.
Why not?
So, guys, I mean, on the other end of this is Vega Squadron. This is a semifinal, a quarterfinal that gears up to the semifinal where Vega has secured that spot. And dare I say, either one of these teams would be a good fit for just stomping on them.
Well, the funny thing is, as we said with the North Force Spies and the aggressive T-sides, I think that would just be like a good boxing match, like head-to-head. Let's just go rifle for rifle. Let's play off skill. NRG, I feel like, kind of has the counter, though. They have, the very strong gun rounds, the really nice CT sides, deeper map pool. So if you want, a great match, I would say hope for North to win this one.
Well, do you hope that North wins this one? Let's get a prediction from you, Duncan, and then on to you, Chad.
No, I think for the series, especially because the guys from North have had to go into train, which, yes, is very strong for them, but it's a map that I know NRG can play. I think the maps are there for NRG. I think they've got the better squad overall, and the pieces are in place for them. So as long as they don't sort of slip up at this point in time, I think they're going to take the series. Potentially 3 maps, but they're going to take the series.
Okay, could be a long one. What do you got?
I think both teams are trending upwards at the moment, but it's just too early days for North. I think there's a lot of firepower in that roster, but they're not going to have the level of depth, and Cadian's not going to have the level of calling ability at this stage, I think, to take on Daps and Co.
Daps and Co. is going to be where my vote is. I have to pull for the side of NRG, not for any specific reason, but perhaps this could be where they prove the fact that they are, in fact, one of the top teams within North America consistently. They do need a victory here. They need to keep that statement going that they had during the summer. Of course, an IEM victory is one, but where were they after that? Let's go ahead and get into the game. We do have those guys that you love to hear from, a Norwegian and a kid from Brighton who has absolutely no idea what he's doing with his life.
True words have never been said there. Yeah, we're excited to head into this one, Halvor.
Yeah.
We have, the boys from NA going to be here versus this kind of new look North team, right? And I'm excited to see, if how this stacks up. It's also like a bit of a rematch from the last StarSeries as well. They met in the semi-finals there. Of course, it was NRG to beat them that time around. So now we can kind of, put the leadership roles of KD and MSL, see how that's affected this team maybe a little bit.
Yeah, if not by how they approach the game in terms of strategy and whatnot, then yeah, maybe again, as they touched on the desk, whether or not it's going to have reinvigorated a couple of the players. I mean, we've seen better showings out of AZ Kirby here at the event. Valdez delivering as expected, I suppose, and obviously I guess the X factor in Gade, seeing how impactful he can be. But I do think they have quite the task ahead of them. I think the desk was on point with what they mentioned in terms of just the map selections going into this best-of-3 series. The fact that NRG are not going to feel, at any point out of their comfort zone as we move through the maps, and I think that could be a bit of an issue. Also, the fact that we've had the pleasure of watching North versus Gambit on train, and we saw kind of how that was a bit of a struggle for both sides on the respective CT sides of the map, but what are North going to be able to do if they don't get off to the optimal start on their T side? If they have to start CT, if they get battered down there, where do they go from that point on?
Yeah, that's been a bit of a reoccurring issue that we've seen for this North squad on train is, rather lackluster CT side. I think that's been fair to say. Even in their game versus Imperial as well, that was probably a little bit closer than they would have liked for similar reasons. I would say that we saw what looked like some improvement between the game versus Gambit and the game versus Imperial, but I guess those two teams both kind of operating at different levels as well, different ends of the spectrum there. Then you look over at NRG, and, we had that kind of rather lackluster performance, if you recall, on the opening day versus Vega, but it was an instant recovery from that point onwards. They then bested North actually on Inferno and Fragsters as well. So for me at least, the NRG from day one, I don't think they're going to be rearing their head here once again. I think that was like a big blunder on their behalf. Plus, I mean, you look at what Vega have done. They're like looking good now as well. So, and potentially we get like a rematch in a best-of-3 if NRG win here. So there's a lot of interesting storylines to take a look at, Halvor, but we're about to get into this game. The map is Trade, and we're going to have North over on the CT side.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we're going to see how well prepared they are to actually fend anything off. Again, as usual, Valdez going to be playing that inner bomb side, but here's something completely new. The aggression coming out from North and the press around towards IV. Cadian is going to be completely isolated, and meanwhile, Stark's been able to find Gade as he's moved out by Olaf. AZ is able to find one return before he gets stopped in his tracks by Fugly. That leaves Valde on the rotation over from the inner bomb site. So that good statistic that NRG had going for them with being able to win pistols and whatnot, that's going to continue on. And I mean, if we go back to the Inferno match that these two teams played versus each other earlier on in the tournament, obviously very different map, but there was a significant case of slow start for North. I mean, that first half ended in, what, I think it was a 12-3 favor of North. And that was off the T side on Inferno. North looked very, very off in terms of how they structured their CD side. And if they're going to have similar issues here, I think North are getting to the point where they're getting better and better at closing out games, even if they are struggling. I think what we saw versus Vegas Squadron was a bit of a exception to the rule. So North need to get their things going really, really quickly on all of the maps that we're going into. I think Overpass is going to be massively favored for NRG.
Yeah, that's not one that we've really seen North take too much of a shining to. But this map of Train, as kind of was alluded to on the desk currently, since having this iteration of the squad, they sit undefeated. So that's going to be a statistic that you hope certainly starts to lean their way. That said, NRG, you know, over on this T side, the side that I imagine North prefer, given their tendency to do so much better on it. But maybe they're into you know, some more like masochistic views, you know, like getting a little bit beat up every now and again. That's fine, yeah, whatever KDN's into. Well, here is Kierby and AZ down here towards Ivy. Ooh, AZ going to spot a couple of heads, and now baits them into Kierby, but that's certainly not the performance you wanted to see from the man to find anything there. Missed shot from AZ, now he gets spotted out as well. But there's the scout chiming in with the first frag onto Daps. Trades coming through, and the bomb looking like it's going to go down inside of this A-bomb site. North already knocking on their door, though. All three players stacked up just outside of Connector and CT.
Bomb's taking its time to get planted here for NRG. They just want to make sure that they have every corner cleared up before they commit one of their players to actually get that down. Cirque's going to get the honor. That 4v3 after plant position. You can tell that North have already kind of resigned to the fact that they're not going to be able to do too much with this just head on. And one of the things we actually saw versus NRG in particular was that NRG got off to a good start. Then there was this first anti-eco round from them that kind of went haywire. They managed to take a bomb site for completely free, but North set up in pretty excellent after, well, I shouldn't say after plant positions, but exit frags positions for themselves, which ended up in a bit of a weird buy that they ended up losing and therefore kind of throwing their economy out of whack. But they do have a tendency to play the more conservative approach, at least, when they do give up the rounds. I'm not going to get anything out of it this time, though. So there we have it. 2-0 for NRG. Looking to take this to a third as well. 2 Deagles. No, actually, 1 Deagle. 157 and his ZZ is what's being carried through for North. Valde and Gage sitting on some Kevlar as well, while Gideon, naturally enough, being the opera on the side, is not going to make that kind of an investment. North opting to take all their players out towards the art area for this time. That first anti-eco, we saw them stacking up with 3 players initially towards inner. Breezy spots out Kirby on top of the train.
Yeah, it doesn't lead to anything just yet. As NRG once again are taking this very, very slow, aren't keen on giving anything up the way of North.
None of the North players willing to jump at any duels that Breezy might be looking for here from A main. I guess that is one thing to keep in mind, that NRG haven't been opposed to taking their time and actually very keen on finding that first frag before they actually opt in towards any bomb sites. And that does lead to some awkward situations every now and again. And Kirby's going to do the rotation flanker around from Ivy here. He's going to find Fugly potentially, or maybe Daps, as the execute comes in towards the yard. That's the bomb actually on the back of Daps, so pretty big get for Kirby here. That could throw things out of control here for NRG. They need to pretty much give up on their entire yard take here. They're just going to be able to find the answer, but that's about a lot of time for the rest of the North squad to actually make rotations out into yard.
Just under 20 seconds left as well, about 15 as this bomb now looks to charge on in. And North looking good. If they just deny this bomb reaching the bomb site, then this is going to be their round. 10 seconds and Cadian dropping another. Fugly desperately trying to punch in the numbers, and AZ goes for the knife. Fugly finds 2 back in return, and now it is just Gabe and Valder. Breeze, he's trying to clutch this out, and he's going to find the first and the second as well. So he holds his own by the skin of his teeth. Breezy locking in at that third, but that gets way too close for comfort there. That was just vanilla pistols for the most part. You know, the couple of CZs, the Deagle, that was all that North had, and they're so close to getting that round.
I mean, considering how that started out, that should have been a North round. 7 seconds left when the bomb starts getting planted. AZ gets a knife in, or a stab in onto Fugly. Doesn't down him, but softens him up a fair bit. Just Gade not being able to connect the shots on a very low HP Breezy at the very end there. So NRG escaped with 1. They maintain their good statistic of being able to convert these bonus rounds. North, I mean, definitely showing why they're the most successful teams in terms of force buys. So very well done. Still though, I see a full buy on the side of NRG as we go into it. Cadian did get his hands on an off. Start things out. But as you can tell, the big issue for North right here is that we're 1 minute 10 left in the round, and they're already struggling a bit for utility. No Molotovs on their side. Only 2 smokes left as well. So being able to fend off any sort of sudden execute from NRG's point is going to be really difficult to do. So we're relying heavily on just straight up firepower and crossfires. Again, though, NRG haven't really done a whole lot. I mean, 45 seconds left of the round. Haven't really gathered too much map control, and that's since they're pushed forward a lot of places. So it might just be a very cookie-cutter execute here from the North American side. Daps peering towards inner. Might be hoping to hold any sort of rotations from the inner bomb site here as the rest of the team is moving out towards the art.
Yeah, going to be that first point of contact is good for 1, but Breezy looking to try and continue this good start for NRG. You lose Daps on his lonesome inside of that inner bomb site, but the bomb now looking to go down. AZ knocking on the door, but it's Cadian who open up and extend that man advantage back in favor of NRG. Breezy. Fantastic stuff from him in the previous round, a clutch out in the 1v2. Holds his own, but no, he's going to miss the spray, and then there's Cadian chiming in with 1 more. Going to land a wallbang. Not entirely sure what through or how he managed it, but it's going to be the round going the way of the Danes. They find their first CT round early on.
That still counts, absolutely. And Breezy in that scenario right there, you definitely see him winning out those duels more often than not, but great adjustment from AZ to be able to bring that back. I think if he goes down, then there's no real way for Cadian to be able to take a favorable challenge coming out from Connector. He might have to hope that Valde is able to win out his duel and pop or something to that effect. So they escape with a narrow round there, North. They do actually survive with a significant amount of players considering what it would look to be. So that op still remains in the hands of Cadian, and they're going to get a full buy in here with some drops around. NRG on their end have to go up with, or go out with 2 ZZs to their name. So a fair bit of utility, so they can definitely set up for some executes here. Already seeing a bit of a more forward move from NRG side, actually. Just 2 players towards Ivy for now. Already had 1 player down in Pop Dog as well, but they're going to go back towards that Black Walls area. See if there's anyone from North playing aggressively.
Yeah, but he's still going to be hanging around here. You can see Gade and AZ looking like they might try their hand at some aggression in towards main. If they do so, that bomb currently on the back of Daps along with Cirque. And Breezy down towards Ivy. There's no one keeping an eye on this main aggression, so it could be a boatload of information entirely for free here for this Danish CT side. But slowly and surely, the bomb aggressing down through the Ivy position. Dab's going to flash them through into CT, and they're going to get by unnoticed. Kirby does hear the footsteps. They know what's up, and Cadian now a monstrous responsibility here to try and lock down CT. And Cadian looking to try and rise to the occasion. He's found himself too. There's still a third man back in CT spawn, and that is Breezy, but the bomb dropped, and now the pressure on. Ethan has to charge on in to try and retrieve it. Does discover Valder lurking up in the shadows. Retrieve the AWP as well, so there's still a chance here. Only 14 seconds on the clock, and NRG desperate to punch in the numbers and get this bomb down. Ethan, AK going to land at his feet. That's heaven sent, as now he's in with a real chance. It's easy up on the train to combine with Gade and shut him down. But someone up there looking out for Ethan. They shoot the AK across to him. Sadly, though, not even Act of God there going to be enough to win that round for NRG, as North picking up their second.
Interesting approach from NRG to go for a B split via backlines. Not something you see every day. Cool attempt, and as well as Cadian does, not really expecting that third player to be there. Again, I think Breezy is in a situation where he very realistically could get 2 kills there. Obviously, Cadian's a bit of a gimme. Then making the adjustment in order to try to down Valde would have been the really big round changer there for NRG. I think they get full control over the bomb side. Bomb goes down a lot sooner. Have a much better go of it. Now we're going to see something we saw a lot versus Gambit as well. That's Gade pushing aggressively. Actually, not as much versus Gambit as we did versus Imperial. But he's going to fall down eventually. After finding 1 kill, that does leave Breezy a weapon. And a hope of finding someone. Not going to be the case though. Daps on the other side. He's been able to down Kirby over towards Ivy. Takes a lot of damage to his name while doing so, but still, it's frag in the right direction. Ethan has picked up that M4 we saw Breezy running around with.
NRG, they still have a lot to do, but this is very much a possible round. Alder looks to try and deny them that, though. That's the bomb dropped, and while it is at the feet of Daps, he's got 12 HP and only a CZ to work with. This should be North securing this, and with 3 players up as well. But 35 seconds left. Daps still with time on his side at the very least.
And that Nomad M4 is going to go into the hands of Daps as well, and he's probably thinking about saving this going forward. Time running down 20 seconds, and that's understandable. Okay, you do hold on to a fair bit of cash in that sense. So it's going to be able to buy up potentially smoke 2 flashes going into the next one. If NRG decide to buy into it, they're going to have a 3-round loss bonus.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it doesn't really make sense to hold on to the 1 rifle, but in this situation, I think Daps, if he did go down there and then elected to buy in this next round, he would have had $400 left over. That's 2 flashbangs, so he makes the right call. He's going to be able to get a smoke, 2 flashes. You know, doing all that work for $300 extra, but that is just...
name of the game.
Yeah.
All right, remains to be seen what they can actually do with this, though. Obviously going to be a pretty big investment on their end. Potentially facing Eco if they were to drop the ball. So early timeouts. Seen teams at this tournament have a very different approaches as to how they want to use their tactical timeouts. Some obviously not using them at all, which happens every now and again, and some saving them to the very late stages of the map. For now, though, we move forward into round number 7.
Play down here towards the inner bomb site. Valde going to do a great job of holding this down, and then Kirby here to help him out along with Gade. This has been a slaughter for NRG. They try and speed things up. They try and make this faster play toward the inner bomb site work, and you can't get past Valde. That's the lesson they learn, a very uncomfortable way as well. And it is just going to be Daps, the brains behind NRG, left in a 1v4. Now, in that little pre-game, not interview, but you know the content. He said, you know, he didn't have any fighting words for the North guys. He just wants to play some Counter-Strike. Well, we could certainly do with that right now. But once again, if you're Daps, you imagine just going to turn your attention towards maybe saving this M4 or trying to do as much economic damage as you can. $2,900 at the end of this round does mean that NRG will be partial buying into the next.
We'll see if they actually decide to even do that. We haven't really seen Cirque being able to get to that up just yet. And it's obviously in the interest of Energy, considering how good he can be with that weapon.
Ooh, perhaps just going to get away, but they know exactly where he is. Cadian only slightly missing the timing on that one, but North, regardless, going to be picking up a 4th round here. Now it just remains to be seen if Daps stays alive, and at this point, players hunting him down. This could be very, very bad. He could go down after the time. Alive right now, he is going to fall, and that is disaster for NRG.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that there's no reason for Energy to buy up with that being the result of the round.
If you want to look at like very, very, very slim silver linings here, that is, he got 1 kill with the M4, which gave him the $300, which now means when he gets 3,400, he's going to be bang on the right amount for an AK and armor.
Yeah.
But I mean, being the IGL of the squad, likelihood is he just takes the hit anyway and goes for the SMG. So, you know, every cloud. But regardless, North fielding a very, very good CT side thus far. This is something we haven't really seen them do all too much in any of the games that we've seen them play, whether it was versus Imperial or Gambit earlier on at this event. Cadian, he's someone who's looked good thus far in this matchup, and he's someone who I think, especially over on the CT side, we've seen get off to reasonably slow starts. Have to build into the game a lot, so him showing up early on, going to do North a ton of favors, it feels like.
Especially with how mobile it can be as well. So far, we've seen him obviously play from Connector. He's been over towards Ivy at times, and now just giving Energy another new look over towards Inner. That's obviously quite tough to deal with as a T-side team, not necessarily knowing where you should spend most of your utility to potentially isolate out an Opper when he's constantly on the move. For now, though, pretty passive setup from Valda here. He's still going to win at the duels. Nice second follow-up onto Fugly there as well. So instead of any sort of ground being gained from Energy side on that inner bomb set and making at least a potential path clear for Ethan to get the bomb down. Looks to be a pretty successful hold for North here. Thriving with what looks like will be 4 players, unless Ethan can hit a crazy one. That's not going to be the case either. So 3K for Walde, 2 for Cadian. And North up to 5 rounds already on this CT side. I think that's the most we've actually seen them get at this point on their CT sides in this tournament on Train. I think both versus Imperial and well, I guess versus Imperial they would have had to. Obviously, they that ended 11-4, so they barely scraped together 5 CT rounds, but nonetheless, a very good start for the Danish team.
Well, Valda, they're going to try and continue that good start. Has players with him in the form of Gade and Cadian, and as these smokes rain on in out here toward Ed, a couple of footsteps down towards Ivy going to be heard. They turn their attention back. Ethan just missing the timing. Kierby was about to offer himself up on a silver platter, but instead they've changed their mind. They've backed away to keep an eye on this aggression at B. And North, opportune timing to go ahead and retake control of Pop Dog. AZ clears it.
So for now, a bit of a standstill once again. North not necessarily going on any sort of aggressive ventures around the map. We did see them with the initial setup, 3 players towards Inner to kind of push away any sort of early aggression coming from the side of Energy. There we go, down pop. Nobody nearby for North this time around. They've all gathered around the first train towards A main, more or less. Easy and Caribbean combining here, looking to combine at least. Ivy is pretty open. I mean, you do have Cadian watching that angle, but that's a pretty narrow one to try to get a shot in. This is the first one. gets the second follow-up, though, but not before two of his teammates have gone down.
He's in the firing line now. Rotation here from Gade, but he doesn't last long, and now it is just Cadian in this bomb train. Players hounding him from all sides, and Breezy's the man to pick it up. Valda left in a 1v3, but as we've seen time and time again, he can be so cold and calm in this clutch. Edging forward, Breezy able to home in on the angle, and NRG will be picking up a 4th round, finally breaking that 5-round streak that we've seen North on. So the Danes going to get brought down in reality for a little bit. Still plenty of money for them to go for the investment. One thing as well, haven't had to see all too much from a few players out of the team just yet. It's really been Valda and Cadian kick-starting this for North. You still have Gade, Kierby, and AZ posting numbers, but we haven't had to see the same sort of performances as we have done on train in the past from these three just yet.
Same can be said for NRG as well. Obviously, very limited impact put out by Cirque at this point. And Kierby might be looking to change the tune a little bit. Trying to push aggressively, does a little bit of damage on the Fugly. Instead, it's going to be Ethan with a forward move out in yard. Finds Gade. Oh, Kierby gives up his position. Ethan not willing to oblige him. Breezy. Oh, doesn't see it actually because of the Molotov smoke, but finally going to be able to get the trade in at least. Cadian, though, chimes in with one, and finally Cirque is getting to action in with that op. 3v2 favoring NRG.
His Cadian, though, doesn't quite spot Fugly up there on top. Oh, the trains. Valde going to be looking to try and join up with him, and Fugly leaves his makeshift tower for the time being and going to go ahead and regroup with the rest of the squad. Hitting this B bomb site looks to be the play from NRG. But Valde just starting this rotation away. Perfectly timed here for North. So he's going to be inside of the B bomb site. Cadian will be a very long way away. So we're relying on Valde to hold the fort here inside of B for as long as he can. This is his bread and butter, though. This is his bomb site. Valde so used to playing this anchor position. And now, as they creep on in, Valde going to hear these footsteps, plays it close on the bomb train, does get spotted out, still finds Cirque. There's only 10 seconds left, and Valde's found the double. The bomb goes down, and Daps left in a 1v2 that never should have been. Timer now working against North, but Valde's already here. Daps going to do damage, but Valde gets the job done. The hat trick for him, and North going to be in with a 6th round here on the board.
Very awkward situation for Valde to be in. Misses the jump really on the initial bomb planter on the side of NRG, but nobody being really able to punish him. It's really what makes gets him through that situation. But obviously stabilizes, makes the most out of it, and finds 3 in the end. NRG, you have to feel like that's a bit of a lost opportunity. They're sitting with a man advantage for so long. And it's not like North, stacked the bomb site either. At that point, you need to make more out of it. North, they're building up a stronger and stronger CT side here. We know how strong they're, or how good their T side can be. That is a bit of a worrying sign for NRG, who is mentioned by the desk, was eager, happy to play Train. And attitude might have been changed a little bit as we're looking for North to potentially get a 7th round, and also sending NRG back to an eco.
AWP out on Cirque, and usually, he's the man that we really talk about when it comes to this NRG squad, currently sitting bottom of the board. Yet to really get into this, and that's giving Cadian a lot of room to move around as well with his AWP over on this CT side. Usually not exactly the man we've been looking to in North to put up a massive body count, but currently, as he goes unchallenged and unpunished, he's been looking good and getting off to a good start. This time, they try and go toe-to-toe with him. Kierby's on the other side of the smoke, and Cadian, couple of missed shots, not going to be too forgiving as Daps picks up that kill now. Kierby pushing on in to try and trade, and him and Valde, they will do so. They've entirely quelled this offensive out through Ivy, now leaving all the pressure on a Fugly and Ethan. Cirque is still around here at the Ivy portion of the map. Doesn't have armor to play around with those, so Aim Punch going to play into this in its entirety. And Easy sitting in pop. As the cross, as the players go running into the waiting guns of North. Cirque 1v4 with an AWP in hand, and he's going to get forced to back away. Only 10 seconds left. So North moving on to a 7th round, and NRG only finding one man in the form of Katie, and regardless, that AWP going to get picked up, you would imagine, by Valde, but they haven't gone for it, so maybe a bit of a blunder there in terms of costing themselves a bit more money than they would have liked.
I mean, they can't even afford to. Well, I guess Kirby could fully blank out on utility and opt to buy an AWP, but I don't feel that's necessarily worth it, but they're going to do it anyway. All right, then. Definitely, yeah, would have seen Valde pick up that AWP instead. Not like it was dropped that far away for it to be an inconceivable task. But North do get a 7th, and they are going up against a pretty much echoing NRG side.
I do wonder if the reason why they don't go looking for the AWP is they anticipate that that's what Cirque was saving. But, yeah, it does feel like maybe it could be a bit of a blunder. I mean, they're up against the eco anyway here from NRG. There we go, Katie chiming in with an opener. Val, they're going to go and tag down Daps in through the wall bang as well. That's just a spam spot up to the
Walls.
Yeah. And now there's push coming on in toward B. The bomb held back at ramp. Valde not entirely aware that Breezy's here, but he will be able to pick him up just in the nick of time. Fugly managing one with the AWP, but not going to be even too many opportunities to get myself done, you'd imagine. Okay, maybe you will. They offer themselves up to Fugly once again, so we're into a 2-on-2. Gades closing the gap, trying to close the distance here inside of the bomb site. Does double down with Kirby. Fugly, though, not usually an AWP. He's certainly showing up in spades right now. We're going to get pressured, and Kirby off the ladder. Surfs around, and like a speed demon, does go ahead and pick up the 8th round for North.
I guess 8th round, but pretty significant losses taken on the side of North there. I mean, and then you add into the entire equation the fact that they had to buy up another AWP in the previous one does put a bit of a strain onto them. Energy with loss bonus, bomb plant down. It should be actually pretty well set here for the upcoming round. There we see Valde just casually tapping, finding Daps early on. But I mean, from this point on, almost regardless of how it works out for North, I mean, they should be pretty happy about how their CT side has panned out. If anything is to go by in terms of what they've done historically with this lineup, it's been weaker CT sides, strong T sides. Now they've managed to muster up a pretty decent CT side at that early on in the first half.
Yeah, there's still a few more rounds left to play for as we approach the latter stages of this first half. Gade going to try his hand at aggression over here in toward main. And ooh, Daps just going to go ahead and put his shoulder out in the open. That's all it takes for Gade to delete him from the server. And now the man advantage gained once again for the Danes. Gade's repositioned since that earlier kill. They're now onto the box. Does spot out Ethan. They go blow for blow, but now that's going to be the sign for Gade to drop back and take more of a passive hold over here towards this A-bomb site. Breezy's been boosted up on top of the box. It doesn't lead to anything just yet. And NRG looking like they're setting up for the A play here. 2 players in from Ivy. That Molotov holds them back and buys precious time. Running that clock down. Plenty of utility left on the rest of the squad. Flash on through. Cirque is going to be quick on the trigger to delete Kirby. These rotations still to come in from Valde and AZ mean that Cadian and Gade have to try and hold the fort, have to try and hold this defensive line, and Gade's going to get toppled. Ethan leading the charge, the spearhead to this offensive from NRG. We're just 9 seconds after bomb now going to be going down. Coming into this, a significant man disadvantage. That's going to get pulled even further ahead as the team's going to go blow for blow, but you can see Cadian's not too keen on moving. AZ slowed right down and starts to back away. That is going to be the round going the way of NRG.
It's starting to build up here, but with that save, they could potentially do something. Going into the next round, Valde might be able to buy it for himself. Cadian can drop a weapon, and then it's a question of whether or not Gade or Kirby is going to take the hit for them if they decide to buy up. But obviously, golden opportunity for NRG to kind of right their wrongs so far in this T side. Let's keep in mind, they did manage to win the pistol round, so up to this point, only one gun round won. That puts a bit worrying too. Yeah, we do see the investment coming in from North here. They probably realize that if they manage to turn this around, not going to be the world of money on NRG's side either, and they can potentially get to double figures to close out the first half. So there we have it. Actually, just gonna, okay, for a second it looked like Kirby was just going to run out with the USB. Definitely had a ZZ lying around. What I do like about the CT side on North right now is takes the opportunity to find a shot onto Ethan there. But as you can tell, Gate has pretty much been playing from this position the entirety of the game. And Kirby basically giving up 2 of his teammates and then follows that up with dying himself. That's not how you want to play that Ivy position out. Not even Gate is going to be able to win out his duel with Ethan. And I was about to commend North on how they were playing that T main area. Usually you see them using 2 of their Molotovs early on to clear out the entirety of the left side of the area to allow Gate to get a really forward positioning, which can be extremely disruptive. But again, it's kind of the Ivy defense that falls a bit flat. We saw it a couple of rounds ago. Kadian just missing that first shot, which allows Breezy to get openings. Eventually that ends up with him getting a 4K. And this time around, it's Kirby just not swinging wide enough to allow 2 of his teammates to die, and Breezy ends up with 3K. So small issues here on the side of the CT side of North.
And you can see now they got no money into the last round of this first half. Just going to be CZs and armor. 5-7 for AZ, but a little bit of utility to work with. And it's a fast play from NRG. Are they ready for AZ? Ethan certainly is. He's actually ready for a little bit more than that. Everyone dying over on the side of North in a matter of seconds inside of this A bomb site, leaving just Valda and Cadian still up in the server. Bomb getting planted here by NRG, and Breezy waiting in the back. They have at least snuck by Ethan. The only issue being is that Breezy's here. He's homing in his sights on this position, and this should be all said and done. Cadian's left in a 1v5. And he's not going to find anything. So 7-8 at the end of that first half. NRG pulling it back and finishing things off with a reasonably decent scoreline, especially when you consider it was a strong start from the North side. A pistol here contributing a lot of these rounds the way of NRG right now. It's been North winning out these rifle rounds for the most part. So they can be pretty happy with that. 8-7 at the end of this first half in favor of North. Still their T side now yet to come, the side that we've been excited to see them on. We will probably be back with that after the break. It's an even split right down the middle at the end of this first half. North 8-7 up right now, but they're moving into their T side. Historically, at least at this event, the side that we've seen them have a better time of it on. And leading the charge right now for the Danes is going to be Val. They're currently sitting 16-8 top of the server. And his counterpart over on the side of NRG in Breezy, also at that 16-8 position. Both of them over 100 ADR. What do you think the important pieces of the puzzle are going to be here for North on this T side if they want to try and pick things up a bit?
I mean, again, obviously winning a pistol, like outside of the most obvious, is seeing more out of what we saw them do versus Gambit. I mean, Chad mentioned it, and like it's not like we're seeing a revolution in terms of how they play with being able to change up the pace and whatnot, and kind of bait out rotations from your enemy that much. But versus Gambit, they did a really good job of feigning aggression towards the D-bomb site repeatedly, over and over again, to the point where Gambit started stacking 2 players towards the inner bomb site at any given time. There's never any execution to get in that area, and they were able to kind of toy with Gambit in that sense. I'd like to look to do the same versus NRG here as well. Valdit going to start off where he left the first half. That's a frag onto Zerk and an equal trade as they've made it their way onto that inner bomb site. Bomb's going to go down as well as Ethan finds Kirby. Kadium being able to chime in as well. Took a lot of early damage there. Still one of the 2 survivors remaining on the side of North. There is a defuse kit. There's a smoke down as well, so no Molotov shenanigans about to happen. And well, as they spend their time trying to figure out whether or not they want to peek, full diffuses come in from NRG. So again, they win pistols. It's been their trademark for the entire tournament. I'm not going to give that up either.
Yeah, now tied up 8-8. This should be NRG taking the lead and moving to that 9-8 scoreline here versus what you imagine will be the eco from North, because they've invested a little bit on Gade.
Nothing too crazy, yeah.
That one Molotov to me suggests that, I was going to say maybe we see the B play come back in, but no, it's going to be Gade barreling on out. Instead uses that Molotov down towards Old Hell to deny this peek in from Breezy and stop the early aggression, but the rest of the team getting dismantled piece by piece. Gade now emerges from the woodwork here toward Old Hell, and the bomb going to be picked up on the back of AZ. Ethan trying his best to trade, but it's still going to get toppled as perhaps trades late. But this is a very expensive round here for the side of NRG. North doing good damage. Now they have a buy to look forward to in this one.
And that was, yeah, unexpected as well. NRG get off to such a great start in that round. You would have imagined that they actually held on to their weapons a little bit better. Instead, it's going to be a pretty significant amount of damage being done to their economy by North. And they're, as you said, going to be able to buy up as well. Kadium probably just considering whether or not he's going to buy UMP, MP5, or AK. Decides to go for the SMG with utility. That does make sense considering the round out on the rest of his teammates. Molotov not going to spread to Gade. Actually, as I say that, does take 1 point of tick damage. Out we go. 2 favorable trades directly off the bat for North here. Breeze is able to find 1, but Kirby's quickly there to respond. And this is what we saw a lot versus Gambit. These quick takes towards Yard, time and time again. And they pretty much spent all of their, I guess, slower rounds to really just put their mark on, or put pressure on that B bomb site, and then continuously going back to these kind of rounds. And more often than not, they seem to be getting multiple openings instead of having just trades going back and forth in these kind of scenarios as well, which leads you to believe that North have definitely done a couple of dry runs of these strategies, because they come out in full force. Just very well synchronized as they move out into that open area. See if he can find an easy kill as NRG make their way towards Pop Dog. That's not going to be the case. He's been dodging a lot of that nade damage as well.
So going aggressive in towards main here. Does have Naps with him. But all this information they're getting, while it is well and good, it looks like North might just have their attention firmly fixated on the inner bomb site right now. Ethan at least will be very, very quick in the back line to try and help out, but it's going to rely heavily on Fugly and Cirque being able to hold off the oncoming North side. As they push on in, Fugly falls at the first hurdle. Cirque going to answer back with 1. Still a lot more left to do, and Gade deletes him. So man advantage secured here for the Danes as that bomb is going to go down to add insult to injury. Ethan on this wrap round from behind. There is a man to keep an eye on it. It's going to be Gade. Okay, going to get beheaded by Ethan. Daps now swinging on around to try and help out, but Ethan's holding onto this AK. He's looking to try and back away, take it with him into this following round. So North 10-9 as they move back into the lead.
So 2 instances of North moving towards that inner sight. We'll see if that just keeps NRG honest as we go forward. That AK could potentially do some damage here in the follow-up round. Ethan obviously known to be a very proficient rifler. Right now, really, the one player that's kind of just gone missing on the side of NRG has been Cirque. You'd imagine on a map like Train as well, that would have been his kind of wheelhouse.
And that's the scary thing right now for NRG, right? Because then you look over at KD and you see how much more ground he's being given to work with. And, you know, not only that, but just because of how strong a player, you know, Cirque usually is within this roster. Not even when you're relying on him to be the man taking the fights versus the AWPers. So often is the man to find the openers or win out the impossible clutches. And right now, he's been struggling to really get anything done. So a slow start here from the man that we normally look to do it all inside of this NRG roster.
He's going to creep up closer towards higher at least and set himself in a position where he potentially could get a drop on any North players who want to venture towards inner. It's not to be the case though. So again, I mean, North do a similar type of thing. They get quickly towards brown walls and find daps. Make sure that they've actually, you know, put some notice to NRG that they are out and about in that area before they actually move completely away from it. But unfortunately for them, Cirque has been on a bit of a fact-finding mission, and he's figured out a whole lot. Still, though, with the lesser weaponry, still going to be a tough challenge. Looking to Ethan to potentially do a lot here. Cirque just waiting until he potentially gets a sound cue of someone walking down pop. Instead, it's going to be AZ to actually clear the corner as well. Let's get dinked up, but only with the Glock. Not the worst thing in the world. Ethan, though, gets into work on top of the train, but can only find 2 before Valde returns it. 3v2 situation in favor of North.
Ooh, Breezy does chime in with one. Fugly desperately trying to win one of these one-on-ones, but it's just not happening. And there's AZ to find him from the back. So 11-9 North. Looking comfortable right now. Cirque going to be picking up the AWP, and we kind of highlighted him just in that previous round. This is really where you want to see him start to step back up, start to rise to the occasion. Because North are very much pulling ahead here. Make no mistake about it. And if they manage to pick this round up as well, you see that scoreline go 12-9. There's no money left for the CT side of NRG at that point. And then you are in dire straits. Kirby, fast play towards A. Perhaps that Molotov going to slow him down for the time being, so he just bides his time in main.
Not going to connect with anything at all. Breezy with a more passive approach to it. He's going to have to win out this duel versus Kidian to get NRG off on a good start. Actually just falls back. Doesn't want to have anything to do with that. Instead, he's going to let Cirque come into the thick of things. That's bomb dropped as well. Pretty open spot.
Cirque, and even then pivots back round just to tag up AZ, trying to deny the bomb plant. That was Ethan, but it doesn't quite pan out. And now Breezy and Daps 2v2. Cadian just timing to spot out Daps as they do find Breezy regardless. It's all on the man in charge of the NRG roster. 1v2, Famas in hand as well. Anything but ideal. Doesn't have a kit, so he's going to tap on the bomb. Forces the peek on in from Cadian, and the clash of the brains behind these two teams. It will be Cadian winning that out 12-9. Now no money left for NRG. This is looking like a bit of a winning formula here from the Danes.
Yeah, it was a prime opportunity for Cirque to kind of get into things as well. Something opening up with a nice first shot. And not deciding to step back far enough to actually get the clean shot onto Katie, and misses out that. Wallbang doesn't sit either. Does a pretty good job of actually turning around to AZ, who starts firing at him from main, but not able to get the clean shot, so only doing leg damage. And down he goes. And speaking of, well, players falling, Valden Kirby went on pretty quickly there. Breezy follows that up with another Deagle headshot. He's definitely making his mark on this game. 22 frags to his name. Now 2v2 situation. Unfortunately for NRG, though, haven't been able to actually pick up any sort of weapons. Dabs could have looked at an opportunity to go down pop. Instead, going to take the long way around, and he might actually just run into the duo left on the side of North. Could also hit that golden timing. The second Katie and Katie and Easy. I think it's safe to push forward. Very patient play here from North, though.
Patience, though, not quite rewarded. While they do spot out Daps, he's going to be getting away with the bulk of the damage. And now you just have to run the gauntlet versus Ethan. They're both dead in one shot to this Deagle, but make the play to duck in towards this B bomb site. Ethan's going to hear all of this and relay that information across to Daps, who's now retrieved an AK to try and work with. Bomb goes down, and Cadian wrapping in through CT spawn. NRG, this is a round that they had no business winning, but now one that they stand so close to taking away from North. It's such a critical moment, but Cadian, despite being on 18 HP, still going to be picking up. Ethan now leaving all the pressure once again onto Daps. It's always him left in these 1vx situations, and he's just going to give it up. He doesn't want to risk throwing the AK away. Wants to bring it with him into this next round. 13-9, as North continue to soldier on ahead on their T side.
It's not going swimmingly for North, but I mean, they're able to work out of these awkward situations. There you see, just being so patient about the potential of the flank actually works out, even though there's not a kill gain from it. And Kaden does take significant damage. At least they get a bit better idea of the lay of the land, and obviously a very heads-up decision to play towards that inner bomb site, knowing that Daps has been that rotator off from that inner bomb site. To get the bomb down, get into favorable afterplan positions, and win out the round. We'll see, though. Another buy coming in from the side of NRG. Lots of utility, all the weapons that they could wish to have. Kirby already out by Olaf here. Escaped all the utility from or NRG used initially, and yeah, seemingly unnoticed as well, as we can see the deep nades coming in from NRG into A main.
Yeah, and this now means Kirby becomes a serious X factor for North in this round. They have that belief that Olaf's been clear. They actually had 3 players pushed up into Pop Dog originally as well, now just leaving Ethan to hold this. Zerg. Well, there's attention fixated over here toward main. Still no idea that Kirby resides where he does. This portion of the map over towards Olaf. This could be either a blessing or a curse for North. But I'm going to try and head over here towards this B-bomb, so rendezvousing with AZ.
Ooh, gun tip from Cirque. It's going to show, and well, if things weren't bad already, it just got that much worse. And not going to be able to find the follow-up on Breezy, so that leaves still NRG with a pretty decent chance of holding these positions on the inner bomb site, and they do so well. Fugly and Daps find for at least 2. Cadian's still alive, but tagged heavily down. Daps on the bomb site. Ethan making his rotation. That's bomb down as well. Well, Valde out in yard with no real hope of doing anything at this point. 10 seconds left in the round. Bomb dropped on the opposite side. And NRG finally got to get into the groove of things after winning pistol. Valde might be able to find Breezy here, but it's a minor comfort. And, that was quite the opportunity, really, for North there to steal away around. Kirby, as you mentioned, just being that sneaky snake in the grass. Able to find Cirque's gun tip sticking out and nearly finding that double frag onto Breezy. That just would have been round over just immediately. if that were to happen. But on the positive note for North, that means that Cirque's not going to be able to get an AWP in his hands one more time just for free, as he weren't able to scavenge that. That's going to do quite the wailing on their economy. There we go. Molotov and a shot through the wall is going to combine to take down Cadian. One of the better performing players on the side of North already down since his grave. But no more two-man setups on this inner bomb site. Only Fugly to left fend for his own.
Yeah, they've snuck all the way up. Just going to miss that timing, and now as a result, the bomb goes down inside the B. Charging on through the smoke, it's going to be Kierby. Now the trade is there. Valdep answering back with his lion's share of aggression as well. Fugly starts to head through. That flash is going to miss its mark a bit, but Valde and Fugly, they trade places. It's not Freaky Friday, though. Instead, it's going to be Gade left in a 1v4, and he does actually get toppled. So not meant to be. NRG finding themselves another round, slowly but surely getting back in to this game, 11-13. Still split right down the middle almost as we approach the latter stages of this game.
And not enough money on the side of North either to be able to get a perfect buy here. Tactical pause might be to consider whether or not they want to force buy into this. I mean, they could get a few AKs and whatnot, but obviously going to be limited on either grenades or just what kind of weapon they're able to bring out. Definitely no AWP in sights for the Danes. So Energy, as labored as it's been, they are keeping it close here. So a lot of that coming off. Obviously, the 5 rounds they've been able to pick up from pistol rounds and the following anti-ecos. But we'll need to see them string together weapon rounds as well as we move forward in this matchup. Breezy still top of this charge with a pretty significant margin on the North American team. Ethan followed up with 20 kills. That second spot, Cirque really yet to be activated here. Nice little nade there to do a fair bit of chip damage on the 3 other North players. Okay, taking the worst brunt of it.
Slowly but surely, the Danes going to be aggressing down here towards Ivy. And this is where Breezy and Cirque lie in wait. Certainly not the duo you'd want to be running into. I know what how Breezy's playing right now. Cirque, as we kind of highlighted a few times, not off to the best of starts, but he's certainly started to find a little bit more success in these last few rounds. North not pushing though just yet. A much slower round here from the Danes, with 3 smokes still up. Good look to hit this inner bomb site. Use one of them at connector and then one of the cross. That's where the bomb looks like it's heading right now. They certainly have enough as well to try and sell this fake. That's what you can see Kierby lining up his smoke for. Then they keep the other 2 to get them into this B bomb site. 25 seconds left, and no, they've changed it up. They turn their attention back around over here to Pop Dog, and they're going to try and make this happen. Cadian leading the charge along with Kierby. The smoke's raining on in, and then there's Cirque. That AWP going to go ahead and lay down the pain. Ethan waiting up close, and Cirque finds the double. Ethan there to double up as well. It's Gage, 1v4, just not happening for him. NRG straight back in with a 12th round. Now there's no money left for this North T side.
Yeah, that was the kind of the gambling buy on the side of North there. Obviously, that gives Energy an opportunity to equalize everything before North gets a proper buy-in. But again, understandable where North are coming from, wanting to shut down any sort of momentum that Energy are trying to build and also keep that economy as low as possible. Here we find ourselves, Energy in a prime position to be able to get their 13th on the board. And with Cirque getting a bit double kill and actually not dying for once. That'll actually do some wonders to his confidence. So, got bomb over towards Ivy together with Gade. Bomb's going to be on Cadian, and then you have the 3-man squad here. Slowly making their way towards that inner bomb site. Let's see how heavy they commit to this. No nades, so definitely going to be tough to actually get a bomb plant in. And I mean, considering the position of Cadian, you might have to think that they're just talking things through, using this round as a bit of a tactical timeout to make sure everybody knows what's up once they get weapons on their backs in round 27.
Silence right now, a moment of stillness in the server. No one from NRG too sure as to what's going on. But that's about to change as 30 seconds left on the clock now. North have to start to get a move on. Cadian and Gade going to be faced with a decision to make. Do they want to try maybe with the B-boys? But now it looks like it's just going to be an attempt at the bomb plant. That gets denied. This round's over. So it's going to be NRG tying things up 13-13, largely on the back of an absolutely fantastic performance from Breezy and Ethan, two out of the kind of core three that we always mention as the real carry potential within this team. Cirque, the only one who isn't showing up. And then you take a look over at North. It's Valdez still leading the charge. He has kind of Cadian and Gade there behind him.
Kirby being rather quiet in this bout so far. Not really finding the same success as we saw earlier in their train matchups, and NRG can decide to talk things through. Obviously, knowing that there's going to be a buy coming in on the side of North, want to be as best prepared as possible. They have managed to keep players alive for a significant amount of time as well, so even if they were to lose this one, outside of letting North closer to map point, they won't have any issues of actually rebuying at any given time. And that's not what you need to see. Kirby gets stabbed in the back by one of his teammates as they run out of spawn, and he's down to 39. Well, there's more people getting slaughtered here as well. Ethan just makes quick work of whatever the plan from North was towards Pop Dog. That's 3 players down, and pretty much a round just decided within the span of 10 seconds. North, you put yourself in such a good positions after that CT side. Went over to your assumed stronger half at least. Not being able to really close this out. Definitely had opportunities with it as well. Ethan not expecting a 4th player to come down into Pop Dog. Cadian, he has a bomb he needs to retrieve. Meanwhile, Valda all over towards Ivy here is thinking about moving through the smoke here. I want to catch Fugly a bit of a surprise. Breezy is in, and then he's got a potential trade here though, so Valda does win out the duel. Shifts focus of Breezy here. Already able to spot him out in Cirque. Has Breezy's back from Pop Dog, so Cadian falls as well. Now, this is really looking like it's NRG's game to lose at this point. Now, didn't think I would find myself saying that just 5 rounds ago.
Yeah, certainly not. I mean, North kind of grinding to a halt in these last few. Having a real hard time of things actually getting into these bomb sites and finding much success early on. It feels like all the opening fights go in the way of NRG. And we don't have that AWP out on Cadian either in this one. It's just going to be rifles across the board. Tactical pause calling in and a chance. These guys have a bit of a chat. You can see Cadian trying to rally the troops there.
Yeah. Again, getting feedback from both Valda and Ave. Try to figure out what they need to do here. And I mean, for the 5 T rounds that they've been able to scrap together here, they haven't necessarily carved out a specific point of the map where NRG are struggling mightily. Obviously, they did want to, I guess, an extended force buy in that 3rd round of the 2nd half, which led to NRG having to eco and whatnot. There's a couple of freebies off of that. One of the rounds being Kirby finding Zerk in the middle of nowhere. That Geiger counter is so loud on that bomb tree. Just a side note, as the execution comes in from North, decided to pick up the pace again, and that seems to be catching NRG off guard. 2 frags in the right direction for the Danes. Dabs, Ethan already gone from action. I mean, it remains to be seen here. I mean, is there really any reason for NRG to go for this outside of just thinning out the economy on North? Chances of actually being able to do much here is limited. Breezy going for a long wrap, but he's not going to be expecting the position from Katie in there with the UMP.
Yeah, just Fugly and Cirque left up. And what can they do at this point in time? North going to be keeping maybe 5 players alive, maybe not 5. They keep 5 alive right now. Cirque going to find one, but he does at least maintain this AWP for NRG because he's got $30,000. Money's kind of not too much of an issue here for NRG on this CT side, and he's going to get away with it. He does manage to stay alive. Fist bumps all around here for the North boys. That tactical pause clearly working out for them as they return to a bit more of a faster play toward that outer bomb site. But now, 4 players staying alive there give them a bit of a buffer. It's not that much, though. You know, you take a look at this. If they lose this round, North going to be really cobbling a bye together into the next. And that would be in round number 30. The double AWP, so that being bought out as well between Daps and Cirque. So, not the most common thing in the world, but NRG, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures here in the closing few rounds of this first game, and it's a quick double from Ethan to kickstart this from NRG. Valde answers back, and Katie now going to be chiming in with one of his own, but it's Fugly in the back line trying to make all the difference in the world. Spotted him out. He's going to take the fight and does win that initial engagement. 2v2, Dap's going to be on that AWP, and currently sitting pretty down in connector.
A bit indecisive as to where he wants to rotate. Tries to move towards enter, maybe join up with Daps and connector, but goes in for a second take here from Pop Dog. But North have gotten into solid after plant positions here. Open bomb plant. There's a lot of utility though on the side of NRG. Oh, that timing is not nice to him, and instead it's going to be a smoke diffuse attempt. Does bait out Valde. What do you do now though, Daps? Don't have a diffuse kit to your name. Smoke is about to fade as well here. Actually, it did pick the defuse kit.
AZ's not there in time. AZ takes a little too long finding his footing, and that's going to be Daps clutching this out in the 1v2. That is a map point here for NRG, all on the back of that man on the screen right now.
That's a fortuitous diffuse pickup, I have to say, because he was running it out with the diffuse kit. When he tapped it the first time to basically bait out Valde into peeking, he did not have a diffuse kit on him. The second time around, though, gets into it, and AZ's just not there in time. NRG just saving that from the brink of destruction.
And for North, it's back to the drawing board. They've cobbled together what bite they can, looking like they might try their hand once again at a faster play in towards this A-bomb site. It's how they found success in the round prior. Double AWP this time between Fugly and Cirque. That's maybe a sight we're more used to seeing here. And Cadian homing his sights down toward the Ivy position. Still yet to see anything as the smokes now start to dissipate. AZ and Kierby in main. 4 players here for NRG with a very, very quick rotation as well on Fugly as they play this retake set up toward the B-bomb. So just as I point out, Daps goes rotating in naturally. So
love to see that. For right now, though, North with the slow Ivy pressure, it's going to be what potentially takes them to OT.
Wow, Breezy hiding in the smoke, toying with North. He's going to go through, and he's in the back line, tearing them apart, and it's just going to be AZ left. 1v5 required, and it's not happening. Breezy at the very end going to be digging deep. I think that's 30 kills for him in total as he finishes off trade at 16 to 14 in favor of NRG. They just managed to close this out, and what a back and forth game that was. It looked like, you know, there was a point in time where I thought North were just going to run over them. It was towards the end. NRG winning 5 of those last 6 rounds to find success here on Train. That's, of course, North's map pick, and NRG, they're the team to actually break their, what, I think it was like an 8-0 win streak. So, you know, what a time to actually find the energy to do that if you are NRG.
Brilliant, and I mean, now you're going into the second map, which is going to be Overpass. I mean, you have to be elated about that if you're NRG, considering how much of a rocky start you had as well. T-side, yeah, you win pistol, but you struggled mightily to find any sort of weapon rounds for the longest time, just until the very, very end of the first half. And then obviously starting off the second half, yeah, you win pistol again, but you get reset in the third round. That allows for North to have a kind of a big streak that at that point I was thinking to myself that North would be able to close this out, take us to, potentially third map, because I have a hard time seeing North being able to stand up against NRG on Overpass.
Yeah, that's going to be like a different beast altogether, and especially as well. I mean, I think Overpass is a great map for Cirque. You're going to have a decent bit of, a decent chance, I think, for him to kind of reinvent himself now after that rather lackluster performance on Train. I mean, they still win the map outright with Cirque being bottom of the board. So, any time will tell how it'll fare as we get ready to head through to map number 2. We'll be back with that and the desk after a break.
Oh, hello there. Nice of you to join me on this desk by myself. Well,
Unusual break.
Yes, there was a quick break there. It was so quick that you missed it. In fact, you might have missed that North have faltered on Train, and now NRG find themselves in a commanding position to now go on to Overpass and perhaps take this entire enchilada. And, of course, let's talk about some enchiladas here on the desk. I'm hungry, and perhaps North should be hungry going into this next map. What happened here? This was their pick, fell apart.
It was a good map. Like, it was actually a lot of play from both teams. North looked the whole map through like they were going to win. And not just when they got to like the 13 rounds up, etc., but like they were just keeping a pace. They always had like the right amount of round wins at the time. Things were going fine in terms of money. They get to that last scenario, and you don't want to boil a whole map down to one player, but that is definitely a map, obviously depending on whether you win or lose the series, that is the round there, that 1v2 that Daps is in, that North is going to be haunted by and thinking over and over again, what did we do wrong? How did we get in that position? And I have to say, as much as AZ has, I think it was AZ was the last one.
It was AZ, yeah.
As much as he's blown it by taking too long to get over, not wanting to just direct peek so he doesn't get immediately shot by the guy having tapped the bomb, why is he even in that position? Why are you giving up the 2v1 in that kind of scenario? So I think at the end, that's an example of where just a little bit of miscommunication, a little bit of bad chemistry, and you've kind of given around to Daps and in the end won the game for the NRG.
I think you could tell that they were flustered because in the round before that was where the knife came in from Spawn when Kirby was leaving, right? That's when the pressure is on. That's obviously an accident. No one's meaning to do anything. But that just shows that the pressure of someone, whoever knifed him, I didn't actually catch it, is just feeling a little bit more than what they should be, a little bit of an oversight like that. Obviously, that doesn't directly lose to the round loss. It just shows where the mentality is at.
Right.
The conversation that Katie and Valde were having, it looked like they were flustered. I'm not obviously not, but it did look like they were flustered from our perspective at least. I think that North actually overseeded the expectations on that first half, right? We knew that their CT halves weren't anything hot, and they were actually able to put up more rounds than I thought they could. And I want to put a lot of that on that second eco round where Kirby was actually able to push Ivy, kill Daps in the back. There was about 30 seconds left on the clock as that kill was going down, and that put panic mode on NRG, who they were actually able to scrape that round and still win it. But the economy flow from that round being so close, I think it came down to a 1v1 with Breezy, or 1v2 from Breezy, who had to close that out. That flowed on and actually gave North 5 rounds in a row here because it bankrupted NRG at one point and they couldn't get the economy going as they probably could have if it wasn't a ridiculous round. More rounds from Valde, obviously. This guy, he's had a lot of impact toward this inner bomb site, shutting down this is a late round position we saw earlier when they tried to do a fast inside. Then what kind of happened to North on their CT side, at least from my perspective, was they were making individual plays. Kirby pushing Ivy on his own with no trade support, Gade pushing into team mid a couple of rounds. Sometimes they would get the kills, sometimes they wouldn't, but I don't want to see too much of that in the future because if they're doing that, it means that they're taking too many individual risks and not playing as a team. But I agree with Duncan in the sense of they did make all the right moves. They over-exceeded on that first half compared to what we've seen for the rest of them in the tournament. They just, when it got to the crunch moments, NRG didn't falter, whereas North did.
Yeah. And I mean, for what it's worth, we can talk numbers all day, but the solid factor is this, that it is definitely not a good feeling if you're on the North side of this, going into your map pick, having that be the outcome, and then going forward in this series. I mean, we're going to Overpass, which was now NRG's pick. We know them to be a little bit more scary on this map. Could this bode even more disasterful?
Well, the good thing, obviously, for NRG is if you are a team who sometimes shows a little bit of nerves in playoff games, you play with house money. You've already won your pick. You've already won the opponent's pick. Your pick's coming up, which is your strongest map, and you've had a lot of big wins on top opponents on. And then even if somehow you don't get that, you know that you've got another map coming up after that. That's a comfort map that you know how to play as well. Then you've got to add into the equation. Like, how can you even feel as though you're going to get more from North? That was about the best you could expect to see from them. Their star player, Valde, was going off, having a fabulous... He contributed to that CT side that they were able to get. It was basically the Breezy versus Valde show. The two best players on each of their respective teams showed up. That's why I say it was a good match, actually, overall. Thought there was a lot of play on the T side from both sides.
I think one of the positives maybe for North going into this is we were talking about these two maps being very AWP dependent, and Cirque was a pretty much no-show in this game. He wasn't able to dictate. He got a couple kills in the later stages of that game, obviously influential, but he wasn't dictating the pace with the AWP. Overpass is a map where you can do so he could come online there, but Cadian as well. I think he was second in the frag rankings or something along those lines for that North squad, and that's not too bad from an in-game leader perspective.
Sure.
He was lighting. It was a very close match. You have to consider as well, both pistols went in the favor of NRG. They won both pistol rounds, right? And it was such a close matchup. So props to North for being able to grind out gun rounds in the signs of adversity. Yeah. Another player who was missing, who we highlighted as a positive factor in their train wins earlier in the tournament, was Kirby.
Yes.
He didn't get as much done in those brawly situations, that's for sure.
13 and 23, 65 ADR there for KRB. Of course, we could talk a little bit about the rounds in a more intricate fashion, but I guess it not having come all together is what it was.
Well, the other thing as well in that equation is to allude actually to what MSL said earlier. This is one of the reasons why North was somewhat like underpowered in terms of raw firepower in the lineup that he had, is because Kirby, when he would go missing like this, you didn't really have a whole lot in the team. In fact, oftentimes it was AZ that was trying to pick up the slack and do more, because MSL himself, beyond the infamous Stockholm performance, was never going to put frags on the board. He was just there to run the show. The difference that Cadian brings to the squad now is he can actually put some frags on the board himself.
Yeah.
He has an impact with the AWP himself. Sure, he's not going to be in theory as good generally as a Cirque on the other side of the equation, but he has legit impact. He's not a liability. You can't even save the weapon for him. So that's why there's a little bit of flavor to the North team, even in a loss here where they're not looking in good shape for the series, where I can certainly see the positives, and it doesn't feel as bad to me as an observer for the loss, even though obviously it's a heartbreaker if you're North.
Well, you talk about a series, and that's very important because there are at least one more map coming your way, and that's going to be the likes of Overpass. Guys, on Overpass, let's just go ahead and wipe it here. Let's just say perhaps a clean slate if you are on that side of North, and you can come into this one level-headed and fresh. What should we be expecting?
Well, for a start off, you must have known this is the map they're going to pick.
Sure.
You should definitely have had the time last night to look at a demo, to have some sense of what Cirque's been doing. He didn't play great in the first map, so maybe you can pressure him, maybe you can go away from him, whatever angle you're going to take on it. It's also a map that every single Danish team plays, every single Danish team knows the routine on, so I wouldn't say it's that crazy to get up to speed on. The problem is, though, I just feel like for NRG, the series scenario puts you very comfortable, and this is such a comfortable map for you. You just feel like you have every sort of rotation, every spot covered.
And Ethan and Breezy are both online, right?
Yeah.
I think it was 29 kills for Ethan and 30 for Breezy, and that's a massive performance from two players, right? That's almost 60 kills between two guys, which is nuts. I think going into this matchup, you have to just be super comfortable being NRG. Just play your normal game plan, expect them to try a couple of counters, but you don't need to worry too much about what they're throwing at you. Historically, Kirby's one of the better bathroom players in the world. That's one thorn in the side there. But I think this is a map that requires time and cohesion to work out the rotations. I couldn't tell early because I thought North had a lot of dynamic plays when we were looking at their CT side, and I wasn't sure if that was a game plan or if that was just being called on the fly by Cadian or reads of other players in the server. But this is another map where that may factor in, right? If you're going to go for stacks of certain bomb sites, I think the key to this is going to be that B bomb site, and if they're going to be able to stop the aggressive players from NRG over towards there. I think historically they do like to hit that bomb site quite a lot.
And
Duncan, you've got the
obviously,
keys.
this is a map where you expect Cirque on the CT side to have massive impact for NRG. But if you want that to happen, as we said, they're not actually that good a team when they're on the low econ. They need to get that AWP into his hands. So you're going to need to have money in CS. CS money, you mean? Right. Sorry, I'll just flip that. So they're going to have their CS money, because that's not just about skins. In their case, it's about having success. It's about having a future. It's about Cirque doing what Cirque can do. Because for them, Cirque is the team. Cirque is us. It's the circus.
The circus, and perhaps even a Cirque du Soleil, as this one continues to be a little bit of a showy affair here. We're going to Overpass between NRG and North, and NRG are just one map from a semifinal, and that's all it's going to take to wrap the entire series up. Make sure that you are with us when we come back, because we have another riveting map of Counter-Strike, and you don't want to miss this bad boy. Be here.
Loot Bet. With Hellcade StarSeries multi-cases, you are no longer restricted by random case opening mechanisms. Now, you are able to pick any of the cells containing skins and actually determine why.
Take it all. Watch me crush it like a wrecking ball.